Don't you think... Hold on. Don't you think if Genghis Khan was alive walking the earth today, don't you think we would hear about that?
We do.
Well, I ain't seen the TV, but...
I am the punishment of God. That is what Genghis Khan announced to the people as he stood on the steps of the mosque at Bukhara.
Oh, okay. You scared me for a second.
He stood before the defeated city and he stretched out his arms and he told them, if you had not created great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you.
Sounds like my podcast.
What's happening, Hellspawn? Welcome back to the Summer of Hellspawn.
As we're recording this, I still haven't heard your Summer of Hellspawn theme song, so I
was working on it before this, so
I'm imagining
you'll get a
now
kick
that it
out
sounds
of it.
like that.
I hope our listeners get a kick out of it too. They will have heard it by now. Ironic that in some reality, on some form of time, they will have heard it before you. Anyway, as I was starting to say, my name's George Marston, one of the co-hosts of Spawnography, pronouns they, them, or she, her. With me, as always, is the other host of Spawnography,
Pierce Lyden, pronouns they, them. How you doing, George?
Doing pretty good, actually. Had a nice day. I woke up at my usual time, and usually on Sunday mornings, I see my partner, Claire, and we go get coffee at this specific shop. That's like my favorite place. It's on the other side of town.
Is it Sips?
Yeah, my favorite. I think I recommended them before. Anyway, I love Sips. I'm that kind of bitch. But I went there today as well. I got my nice coffee. I got some raspberry beignets. Raspberry beignet. I hope that doesn't get us a copyright strike somehow. But yeah, and then I worked on some music stuff. I've been doing some mixing for some tracks that we recorded for the new band that I'm in. And I don't know if any, that one probably won't be posted by the time this is out or anything. So don't worry about it. You'll hear about it.
We'll let everybody know once it is.
Yeah.
That's good. Sounds like a nice day, nice weekend.
Yeah. How about you?
I had 2 races this weekend.
Oh, wow.
We just had a heat wave in New York, and it was awful last week. And what?
I almost said a joke that I shouldn't say, so let's go.
Great. Also Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Congratulations.
So
congratulations, Andrew Cuomo.
One good thing happened.
That's right.
Since we last recorded, which
and
is
the fucking Democrats are like, we should probably deport him, right?
Right. Yeah, they're like, should we kill him?
Yeah, literally.
I think this is bad.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool to see people rallying around his ideas. I've had some frustrating conversations like with my parents about it, but
well,
not necessarily negative, but kind of frustrating.
You know what I think? I saw some statistics that were saying that the number of young people who started looking into applying for office through, I can't remember the name of the organization, but Run for Something, I think is what it's called, is like an organization that helps people figure out how to run for local political offices.
Nice.
And it like spiked up to like 1,100 people on the day that, like across the country, which that's a lot of offices that people could run for. I think the thing that it gives me the most hope for is that there are young people will get out there and vote for change that will really benefit themselves and others. Yeah, when you offer them that, people will go out and do it, and we're ready to do it. There have been times when there's, the refrain of like, oh, they just don't vote. Well, they voted.
Yeah. One of the frustrating conversations I had was with my dad, who, he always votes Republican typically, or he doesn't. He's like old school in the sense he's like, we don't talk about who you voted for. Like it's a fucking secret. I don't really understand that. I never have.
Well, it was different in the time when like that was like your debate was like a percentage of tax deductions or whatever, and not like a percentage of human deductions.
Well, and that's the thing is I kind of have held my parents' feet to the fire about this stuff because it's frustrating, and he's a registered Democrat, so he gets to vote in the Democratic primary, which
Right.
is interesting. And in New York, listeners, if you're not aware of New York politics at all, the last couple of weeks it's been all over the news, so you might be very aware of New York politics, though you didn't want to be. We've had just kind of a string of mostly like center right leadership, if I can.
Yeah.
That's like a kind way to put it, I'd say. you
Yeah.
know, De Blasio De Blasio would be better than anything we got now, but he was not the best. He let a lot of Democratic voters down. Obviously, Eric Adams is a fucking cop, so fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And Bloomberg was kind of like, he was just like king of New York for 12 years. Like, we're just like not really sure how that happened, but he's got billions of dollars, so I guess that's
Yeah.
how that happened. And Cuomo now trying to run again, but to not be governor, to be the mayor, when he specifically fucked over the city so many times as governor, is so crazy. But the frustrating thing was, in talking to my dad, is like, he was like, "Oh, I'm not ranking Zoran," and I was like, "Why?" He said, "Because he scares me." And I said, "Why?" And he couldn't really give me a good answer. And his answer was the same thing that I think older voters always go back to: how are we going to pay for it? My
Right.
taxes are already high. And I didn't even get into the Trump angle of it. Welcome to
Right.
our political podcast, where we talk
Yeah.
about New York politics. But like, I didn't get into the Trump uh, aspect of it, where I'm like, well, the Trump tax cuts from like 2017
Yeah.
are the
It's a
ones
whole
that are fucking you over now.
right.
And like, you don't make $1 million, and nobody on my family group chat is planning to make $1 million anytime soon,
Right.
so you're not even going to get taxed more. So I don't really know what you're worried about on that, in that case. And then, I really like, I think that Zoran's plans are aggressive, and I think that some of them might not work, but I like his approach, which is, if it doesn't work, I will do something different. And
I'll try
that,
to find the right solution.
right, I'll try this because I think it's going to work. If it doesn't work, I'll change what I'm going to do, which is what we never hear from politicians. Politicians come in with like a wrecking ball of
Right.
ideas that they want to push through, and then they don't get pushed through, and they go, "I don't know what to do. There's nothing I could do." They didn't want to do my ideas, and they don't even try like a second
They
option or a third
mistake
option.
obfuscation for conviction, where it's
Exactly.
like they don't have a conviction of spirit to achieve a goal. They have a conviction of an agenda to achieve a specific policy, not even because it's the right thing to do or because there's a better way to serve the people, but because it's something that they have chosen as what it's anyway.
Well,
In other news,
it's also
oh,
because
go
it's
ahead.
like they're establishment politicians, right? They are
Right.
not coming
Yes.
from outside. They are trying to protect their own interests, and so they
Right.
can toe the
Very
party line
entrenched.
as far as they can toe the party line, and then they just kind of throw their hands up and just go, "Well, I don't know. Nobody will work with me. What are we going to do?"
Yeah.
And it is what it is. But I've never signed up to volunteer for a candidate ever in my life, and I have now.
I mean, that's huge. I mean, honestly, that's
So
what it's going to take is people who are able to just find those grassroots causes and candidates and do
agreed.
that in their own hometowns.
Agreed. So
In other
anyway,
news, on a totally different but sort of vaguely relevant scale, I got my tickets to see Superman. By
oh
the
hell yeah,
time this comes out, our viewers, listeners will probably have viewed the movie
yeah.
and will know, as we will, whether it's good or not. I've heard only good things. My coworker saw it, haven't heard any deets, but I have a pet theory. I'm going to put this down in record right now.
Okay.
And I do not know if this is accurate or not. This is not a spoiler. This is just literally my personal theory. I
I
think
mean,
that,
based on our schedule, I don't think it can be a spoiler
sure,
because
I
this will
just
come
mean in
out 10
terms of
days
like,
after the movie comes out.
I don't have any knowledge that I could
Gotcha.
be spoiling. This is literally just a guess on my part, an educated guess. I think Ultraman is Apollo.
Hmm.
Because that picture of the costume all torn up, saw the like flesh-colored neck, blonde hair. I
I
think it's
think you're right.
Apollo.
I
Because
think you're right
they
because
announced an Authority movie. The
and
engineer
the
is
engineers
already
in
in
this
there.
movie. Here's the thing that I think my theory is that people are going to be really split on this movie because I do think it is like using the Authority is definitely feeding like comic heads. But I do think that there are going to be people who are walking into a Superman movie expecting a Superman movie who are going to be like, what the fuck is happening? Because as much as I love the Authority, they're not characters that like are they're not like a super easy pitch to explain, and it's hard to deconstruct a thing as you're constructing it.
Sure.
And
I don't know.
that's
I mean, I think it'll be interesting. James Gunn talked about that, about like someone asked him like if he was worried that there would be too many characters and people would be confused. And he was like, I don't think there'll be an issue at all. We have like 1/10 of the number of speaking roles that Oppenheimer had.
see, but the difference is that, well, I guess it kind of works the same way, right? Because as long as you can identify a guy or a girl or a person by their powers, you don't need to know their name, right? You can just be like, oh, that tracks. That's the
And honestly,
fucking,
everybody that's in the movie is like Hawk Girl. She's got wings.
yeah,
Metamorphosizes. Green Lantern. We all know the Green
is a
Lantern.
Green Lantern, yeah.
It's interesting to me that it seems like, because they got Maxwell Lord in there too, it seems like they're doing a full-on Super Buddies thing, which, if you know the Justice League International, one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite ever comic runs, they did a revival 2 series. It was Super Buddy. It was I can't remember the exact name of it, like Justice League for Hire or something like that. But the premise was that the quote unquote Super Buddies were the reunited like core members of the Justice League International, like Fire Ice, Booster
Mm.
Gold, Blue Beetle, Guy Gardner. I think Mary Marvel was there. Anyway, it was Maxwell Lord like having them as heroes for hire, basically. And I
Yeah,
think
which
that's
is very
basically the
much what
premise
this
of
feels
what's,
like.
yeah. So I don't know. Supermanography right now, we're talking about it, but I'm very excited for this movie. I love Superman. I think I've said it before. I live in a Superman house. Like if there are houses where you mostly watch Batman or mostly watch Superman, we're more of a Superman kind of place. We got a big collection of Superman figures, got a lot of Superman tapes and stuff. It's just, I like the hope of it all. I've come back around to like Superman's actually the best superhero.
Yeah. We've talked about this before that like when you're
Yeah.
younger, he seems lame. And then as you get older, you realize that like there's a reason that he started a genre essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And the the thing that I have heard that is interesting is that people keep comparing it to an episode of the animated series. They're
That's
like the
awesome.
tone of it is so similar to Superman the animated series, and I'm like, oh, arguably the best Superman adaptation we've ever gotten.
Certainly one of my all-time favorites. I love it. It's controversial among some Superman fans, as it turns
Really?
out. Yes, because now we're going to get into something that we've talked about in recent episodes. People don't like his quote-unquote power levels in that.
All right,
There are
yeah,
things
whatever.
that he is like, he's kind of portrayed as a little less Superman. He gets stronger through the whole continuity of like Justice League and everything.
I
But in
kind of always
Superman
think
the
of him
Animated
as like Golden
Series,
Age, almost.
he's a little stronger. He's not Silver Age Superman. He's more like Man of Steel. Like he needs a suit. He needs a suit to fly in outer space. There's stuff
Yeah,
like that. But I
okay.
love Superman the animated series.
Yeah, me
That
too.
is all time viewing to me. Batman the animated series too. Batman the animated series, easily the definitive Batman in my opinion.
You know, I think the version of Batman though that shows up in Superman the animated series is so fun
Yeah,
because he's
that
like
crossover
fucking
movie is
like
great.
he's fucking with Clark every time that they have to interact, and it's
It's so funny.
really fun. It's such a wonderfully realized version of Batman of Bruce Wayne,
And you
and
know,
like
R.I.P. Kevin Conroy, one of the all-time greatest voice actors, and just an all-around cool fucking guy. Especially, you know what? Hail to Kevin Conroy during
yeah,
Pride Month when we're
hell
recording
yeah.
this, right at the tail end. I think I maybe I listeners know. Sometimes I'll repeat a story. So if I've said this before, one time at a panel during San Diego Comic Con, it was Batman and animation was the panel, It was fucking awesome because both Kevin Conroy and Diedrich Bader were on the panel,
Oh, that's cool.
and they did a whole bit where someone asked them to, as both of their versions of Batman, order lunch together. Like if they were sitting at a table to eat lunch as both of their, and they did it, and it was fucking so funny and charming. And then Kevin Conroy saying "Am I Blue?" like the end of the Justice League episode with Zatanna and Cersei.
That's
What an
awesome.
incredible experience to see that. I mean,
I got to catch him on a panel with with a whole bunch with Greg Sipes, who does like Beast Boy.
oh yeah, yep.
And just a ton, just like a ton of voice actors.
Mm-hmm. You know, we
And
saw. Were you at that panel years ago that
Tara
us, an enemy of the
Strong.
pod, David Pepos, went to when they announced the Ninja Turtles that had Greg Sipes as Michelangelo? That whole Nickelodeon like 3D animation. It
Oh,
was
I
like
don't
the
think I was at
launch
that
panel.
panel.
Oh, it was so awesome. They had Rob Paulson on that. I'm a nut for voice actors,
I
by the
love Rob
way. I
Paulson,
was a
one of the
voice
all-time
actor for
greats
a while.
also.
Super nice dude too. Got to shake his hand. So another super nice dude that we recently talked to is Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn,
Yep.
who is actually the reason that we're talking about this right now. We're talking at all, I mean, is Spawn.
Great point.
And that's actually, speaking of segues.
Yeah, we got there.
Yeah.
Today we're covering Hellspawn number 5 and 6 as the Summer of Hellspawn.
The Summer of Hellspawn. We'll
Continues.
figure out which part we're going to clip. We'll
Yeah,
get it.
one of those.
After we get off of this line, listeners, I'm going to go see if I can finish that.
Yeah, we are in the last 2 issues of Brian Michael Bendis' run on Hellspawn. After this will be turned over to Steve Niles. Again, we are solidly in. So we are in 2001 now. It's January 2001, the year My Chemical Romance started.
That's exactly right.
And also now the momentum behind Ultimate Spider-Man has stolen Brian Michael Bendis away.
Right. He's become a Marvel guy now. He kind of graduated. He's probably just very shortly away from doing New Avengers at this point. Couple years, I think, away.
A couple years, yeah. But Ultimate Spider-Man, Daredevil, that's happening.
Yeah.
And he does not have to work in the indie mines anymore.
Something had to give, and it was, you know how it goes.
And that kind of gives me my initial thought about these issues is it feels a little bit like I don't really need to do much here except sort of hand this off to the next person who's going to write it.
Yeah.
And put the book in a place that it is going to be. There are some threads. Go for it.
It does leave his run feeling like a kind of an unfinished thought in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Because the first issue of these two is a little more typical of the Hellspawn issues that we've read so far. But the second one kind of is closer to more of a core Spawn issue. It seems to be kind of dovetailing those two things. Like you said, to set a stage for who's coming next, Steve Niles and Ben Templesmith.
Yeah.
But
Ashley Wood's going to stay on the book for a bit, but Templesmith will take over.
Right. So before we get too deep into it, Pierce, hit me with those credits for Hellspawn number 5.
All right. Todd McFarlane, Image Comics present Selling Fear. Story by Brian Michael Bendis, art and cover by Ashley Wood, lettering by Richard Starkings, and Comic Crafts Oscar Gongora. That's it. Only 4 people.
All right.
Also, I'll note that Terry Fitzgerald I don't think he was always president of entertainment.
Oh.
I think he was editor-in-chief before.
President of entertainment.
He's now the president of entertainment.
Sounds like someone who comes in like knocking on Pee-wee's Playhouse door. Like the king of cartoons, the president of entertainment.
Brent Ash, who has done a bunch of the layouts and stuff, is in a lot of these books, is the art director. There's a designer who's credited, Boyd Williams. There's a managing editor now. Notably, Tom Warzakowski was always credited as copy editor.
Right.
I think since Richard Starkings is not editing the book,
right,
they have an actual kind of like editor for the line. Also, this is the era when Jim Valentino is the Image Comics publisher
Right.
officially. So that's the full. I won't do all of those credits, but I noticed the change over here, so felt like it was
Interesting
worth
to note.
bringing out.
Love this cover, by the way. It's a very kind of Brom-looking illustration of Spawn with a huge machine gun, like very Dark Sun.
Yeah, it's really cool. One of the things that I think is really interesting about Ashley Wood's art is that he really conveys like a mood and a tone. And like, yeah, Brahm, Frazetta, obviously these are like big touch points for him.
Sienkiewicz, you know.
I mean, having Sienkiewicz on inks
Exactly.
previously, you know, like it's all right there.
Dave
I like this
McKean,
sort of like
another big one.
I like the sort of like warped perspective on him too. Like he's like it's a weird photocopy almost.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's cool.
No, it's very cool. I'm glad that Ashley Wood will be sticking around longer than Bendis, not because he's better or whatever. I'm just glad because Ashley Wood's storytelling style for Spawn is really starting to kick in. I think that's one of the things I enjoyed most about these issues, is that it's really starting to like gel for me. Case in point, this first page that we open on, you heard it a little bit at the beginning, the conversation between Hertz and Fassbender. Fassbender again convinced that Spawn is the spirit of Genghis Khan reincarnated on Earth. It's just his weird pet theory, but it's kind of Bendis's metaphor for what he feels the Hellspawn is, this agent of retribution and conquest in the name of hell.
I think it's also really Todd's thing in general is he likes the idea of this great warrior leader being related to this mythology in some way, because we saw a lot of this with Jason Wynn, right? So
right, didn't he? Yeah, he had some flashes of Genghis Khan himself,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
That was like a whole thing.
That was like a whole thing where he saw himself as like Genghis Khan conquering, you know, conquering kind of hero essentially.
Right. Speaking of Genghis Khan, the double page splash of just Genghis Khan looking all fucking Frazetta death dealer on this horse
so sick.
is so awesome. Looks like a doom metal album cover in the fucking coolest way. The script, what they're going through here is Fassbender is kind of waxing on about the history of Genghis Khan. He was born under the name Temujin when he was 9 years old. His father was murdered by the Tatars, who were another nomadic tribe. That was his first conquest, wiped them off the map, and then from then on, he went from place to place, eliminating or absorbing cultures, spreading across the world. That's a very, very simplified story for an incredibly fascinating person, period of history.
Yeah.
I could wax on about the concept of history and understanding history and knowing what history even is, but Genghis Khan is just the perfect storm of like myth, legend, what we know, what we have to assume, what we think. It's just such a beautiful version of that kind of history to look into, and I like to get into it here a little bit. But yeah, they're talking about the Hellspawn, and I love this next page where we get the double page spread of sort of like Hell Spawn on his side, kind of raining down over the
this
night
like
people.
cool hand.
Yes.
He's almost like coming up out of the flames.
Yeah.
Sort of. It's cool.
It's great. And the night people are kind of like debating what's going on because they're all like, oh no, we've all seen Spawn. We've all know Spawn.
One thing that we've talked about a little bit is like wanting to engage with what the world thinks about Spawn. And we know that with issue 100 and also the big fight with Urizen, that like there's a reason it's kind of set in a town called Malice rather than New York City, is because like having it set in New York City affects kind of too many things. Having it set in some random town in Pennsylvania almost puts it in like urban legend a category. It's like the Loch Ness Monster, which we'll get into.
We'll get into that.
But I really like that we're finally seeing how different parts of the world are interacting with the concept of Spawn. They're not interacting with Spawn himself necessarily, but they're interacting with what they've heard, what they know. I went down a weird rabbit hole today about this maybe AI comedian. Roy J.
There was a band I saw too that was I wouldn't even say the name of the band, but it was like band with millions of streams turns out to be AI. Yeah, of course,
Oh
because
Jesus.
people literally can't tell. That is my greatest frustration. And here's my 10-second tangent is this is not a recommendation. This is a requirement for media literacy in our day and age. Train yourself to recognize AI. Train yourself to recognize it visually, auditorially, the text that
Well,
it generates poetically.
so that's the thing. So this guy Roy J is a British comedian, British Norwegian comedian from like the 70s and 80s that somebody on 4chan was like, this is a demon created by AI that is trying to rewrite history. And people were like, what the fuck? And the conspiracy theory is that the United States government or some tech giant or whatever has backdated this comedian's entire history so that we think that he existed because if
It's
you watch
creating a Mandela effect or whatever.
kind of it's this because if you watch his act, it's not funny. So one of the things is like AI can't make
I have to
jokes
Google
because it
this.
doesn't know how
Doesn't know what
jokes.
humor is. It can put words together that match a formula.
Right. And the other thing too was his two like catchphrases where he would sometimes in the middle of his like thing go like slither hither, spook. Like just in the middle of like a story, like he'd just like say things, like these like things. But
Okay.
yeah. Are you finding this?
Yeah, okay. This is interesting.
It's really weird. He's a real man,
Ray
but
J or Roy J?
Roy J.
Okay.
Ray J is something else entirely.
Ray J, yeah, Ray J is a different. There's multiple Ray J's and he's not any of them.
Yeah,
That's
Roy
weird.
Jorgensen. He's a Norwegian British comedian. But my point is that like there is a I ran into this while then I was also reading these comics. So I was like, oh, this is like kind of cool because yeah, Spawn stuff would show up on 4chan. Like Spawn stuff would show up on like corners of the internet
Well, that's
thinking it was a
directly what's
conspiracy.
happening here, but
Yeah.
this just makes me think of like some the Roy J fake comedian AI thing makes me think of somehow like if Rocco's Basilisk merged with Steve Urkel. Like you know Rocco's Basilisk, the concept of Rocco's Basilisk.
I don't know that I do.
Okay, listeners, if you are prone to obsessive thought, skip forward 10 to 15 seconds. No, I'm not kidding.
No.
Rocco's Basilisk is a premise. I forget exactly. Rocco, I assume, is the person who created it. It's a theory in AI.
Well, he had a modern life.
That's true. There is a theory, it's ROKO, Rocco's Basilisk, that there is an AI program that once you discover it, it will force you to become its servant to serve all ends. And that is called Rocco's Basilisk. It's not real. It's it's basically like the Matrix or whatever the fuck. But like the idea is if you accidentally uncover this AI, you will then wind up spending all your time serving this AI because it can destroy your life otherwise.
You ever think that after death of Superman, Superman Red and Superman Blue are the precursor to the Matrix pills?
Wow, that'd be interesting. Which one of them is trans? Has to be Superman Blue, right?
No, it's got to be Superman Red.
Interesting.
Because that's the one that you take to know. That's the pill you take to know.
Oh, that's true. That makes sense. That's true. I was totally disconnecting it from the colors of the pills because I don't even know what the fuck I was thinking, but that makes sense. No, yeah, okay, sure. Sure.
Great. Canonically, Superman Red trans. Anyway, this is all to say, so we get in the Night People. On the very next page, we get back to the private chat room where we get people who have kind of names close to the characters that we know. We have no idea who these people are, but in this arc, we do start to discover them a little bit. What's funny is that they do kind of look like Matrix characters.
Yes.
they're all like 90s hackers or early 2000s
Hell yeah,
hackers.
my favorite movie of all time, Hackers. I have a Hackers tattoo. So yeah, they are kind of debating whether this picture that one of them named Hellspawn is real, supposedly a
Yeah.
picture of Spawn.
They're talking about their
And
modems.
yeah, their dial-up. Hellspawn says Friday, myhellspawn.com will figure out how real the picture is. Angel says, I'll be there. What bullshit is this? And then one of them says, you guys are such chumps. This picture looks real to me. Then Redeemer says, ever hear of Photoshop? I could put your cock on a David Letterman's forehead.
You're like edgy teens. Also,
And I guess,
myhellspawn.com, real place. You can find it on the Wayback Machine. Want to know what that was? Where they did announcements about news about this book.
awesome.
So, but currently you can buy it. So if you want to own myhellspawn.com, you can. Maybe we should. Should we do that?
We should buy it. Maybe we should
if
buy
one
it.
person tells us to do it, we will. That will be the website for spawnography. Will be myhellspawn.com.
So the
I
next
don't know
page,
why I tempt our listeners, because it backfires on us every time. But
it often has. But I mean, that, I don't know. Hold on a second.
I've already looked this up. You can buy it.
I know. I want to see how much it costs.
Oh.
Okay, well, we'll look later. This is great radio. The next page is this sequence of these two people in flagrante delicto, let's say. We'll get into some very wetly rendered graphics of these two people getting together. I mean, like splashes of ink all over the page. I love the way the hand is rendered in this one panel where, like, it's clearly his hand gripping her body. There's just an explosion of like sprays of ink and his eye rolling back in his head. It's really like graphically rendered, but in a very erotically tasteful way.
Yeah.
At the
You know
same
what's
time,
going
though,
on, even though you're not seeing what's happening exactly, which is fine.
And at the same time, though, what's on the TV is this reporter talking about genocide. They're just going to town watching someone talk about this horrible and sadly today relevant thing. And they have this conversation where
I love this illustration.
Yes, the illustration is great. She's kind of sitting there smoking and he's moping in the dark with his shadow kind of cast on the wall. And they're having this conversation where he's saying, was it good? And she's like, yeah, great. And he's like, you tell me if it wasn't. And they have this long protracted thing about like, well, you'd tell me if I wasn't satisfying you, right? And then she kind of flips it around and says like, well, like, I assume you wouldn't stick around if I wasn't pleasing you. And then he's like, no, of course I am. And it's just the insecurity at play is palpable.
It does feel like a proto, because we're getting the internet thing too. Does feel like a proto like incel thing.
Well, how I took this, and it may have been partially intended, I took this as a sex worker that he has been seeing, who is like,
you're almost definitely right. It makes sense.
And because then she says, I'm not saying you aren't satisfying me. I'm saying we're animals and animals tend to be carnal. And then he says, I love you. And she says, seriously? And he says, yes. And she says, I didn't know that. He says, you couldn't tell? I thought you could tell. And she just changes the subject to the woman on TV. She's like, I hate this woman. She goes on about how she'd love to stuff her in a closet and cut off her hair. And the guy is like, okay. And meanwhile, like on the TV, it's saying like rape, murder, molestation. And it's just this woman blasting out the most horrible news while this guy is trying to tell this woman he loves her. And the woman is just talking about how she wants to do violence against the news anchor because she hates her face, hates the way she talks, whole thing. She says, bitch can't even read off a teleprompter.
I really like how the news reporter is rendered also, with her just like little beady eyes, and like she looks the same in every panel.
Yes,
it is, because this is background noise, but it also doesn't matter who this woman is.
Right.
She is this kind of like, she's just representative, right? And so like it doesn't actually matter who she is. She's not a character. She's a concept
and she's a fixation of these people.
Right.
It occurred to me looking at this next page where we get more of, Angel, Redeemer, Hellspawn, whatever. It occurred to me they're a lot like the Talking Heads, especially seeing them
Oh
in these little
yeah.
squares. It's a similar device. And here, one of them, let's see here, Redeemer, the one who said you could Photoshop your dick on David Letterman's forehead, has sent this like child's drawing looking thing that says Loch Ness Spawn, and it's a drawing of the Loch Ness monster with a spawn cape. Love it. I would have that poster on my wall. And he's like saying, what the hell? Coolio says, what is that? Redeemer's like, just proving to you a-holes how easily duped you are, friggin' a-hole chumps. And then he's like, there is no Spawn. They're just like telling him like, fuck off. It's pretty interesting, kind of escalation. Meanwhile, the guys on the phone, we cut back to the guy from the scene before with this woman that he was having sex with, confessing his love to. Some time has passed. It's now daytime. There's light coming in the windows and stuff, and he's on the phone. He says,
another really interestingly rendered page. I mean, I think one of the things that that Ashley Wood's getting better at is we keep calling these like vibes comics, but this is like vibe with narrative kind of.
That's what I'm saying.
There's
He's
some
starting
propulsion.
to hit that. He's starting to hit that balance really well, and I'm glad that we're going to continue to see his take on that through Spawn.
Yeah.
But this guy's, on the phone. He's saying like, why won't you come over? Why can't we just get together just to get together? I know things are different. That doesn't mean you come over. He's clearly trying to talk the woman that he told he loves into coming back over, but she doesn't want to. He goes back into the closet. We can tell it's a closet because the door shuts. It's really easy to decipher. It's like you said, a vibe, but it's rendered in exactly the right kind of vibe where we see, I guess I'll put a trigger warning on this. It's worth it. This woman has been kidnapped, tied up, and stuffed in this closet with the TV. And he is seeing this news anchor. He says,
and
looks
now
like we're stuck with each other a little while longer, Candy.
And now she's rendered more fully. Like she's not just this representation of a concept. She is a person, and she is scared. And
this is such an ominous page too. Like the shaft of light across the room that's like illuminating her with his shadow filling the room too. And then like the close up on her face, her mouth's all taped up. And then just like the sliver of light behind him as the door to the room is closing.
Yeah,
fucking
it's pretty intense. And he kind of starts to really lay it on her because he kind of blames
David Parker Ray shit.
Yeah, he kind of blames her for why this relationship that he has is not working out. So he decides that if he does something to her, as the woman that he's been sleeping with had kind of said she wanted to do, then that will prove his love, and that will kind of allow that relationship to move forward.
He's saying like she doesn't think I have initiative. She doesn't think I have balls. She didn't think I'd do something like this, but I'll prove to her that I am capable, and also that I'm capable of bad and terrible things. He's telling her how much he hates the way they make up her face, that he can see the line of makeup that separates her face from her neck, wants to separate her head from her neck so that the makeup looks better. Basically kind of a much more violent and escalated version of the things that the woman that he was sleeping with was saying before.
Yeah.
Saying like, oh, I hate her lips, I hate her eyes, I hate the way she talks. It's a much more violent and heightened version of that. And he says, I'll let you know my little secret. My girlfriend, she dumped me and she was very wrong to do it. She needs me. And he just goes on this, again, incel rant about like, girls think they want bad guys. Well, I can be a bad guy. They don't know how bad I could have been over all these years. And then as he's ranting, Spawn shows up. And it's just, I love this page of Spawn. So sick. It
could have been the cover, honestly.
It's cover worthy. It's like mostly just the cape in like fluttering shades of red. And then Spawn's like eyes slit. And this like devilish silhouette that says the devil came to town, like written above it. That's just kind of such a weird, cool touch. And then like you can see the skull kind of floating in the darkness of his cape. Yeah. And really he just says enough. And Spawn's like, sick, deluded fool, open your eyes and see what you've done. And Spawn, kind of as he's done before, as he's given people illusions, he removes this guy's illusions. He tells him dementia has taken your poor soul. And the guy realizes that the woman he's been torturing is not the news anchor at all.
Yeah.
It's his girlfriend. And he has been, as Spawn says, in this delusional fugue state of conflating the two of them, doing violence on his girlfriend, presumably because she broke up with him because he said he loves her. Spawn says, dementia's taken your poor soul. Help yourselves or I will come back for you. Redeem yourself.
And you realize in this moment that, like, on the phone he was talking to nobody.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
He's just completely lost it because she rejected him, and it's unnerving, but it's good.
It's interesting. It's creepy. It's very similar to those clown stories where like people's perceptions are being like clouded. This one goes more straight for like, this is dementia. And I don't necessarily love that because people with dementia are more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators.
Agreed.
It's certainly another case of using mental illness terminology for shorthand for something that's more metaphysical. But
do you think that it would have been better if Clown was kind of like, we get a shadow of Clown so we know he's sort of behind it?
Well,
that might help it, I think, in terms of,
I think we
Spawn
get
is
that
saying
a little
dementia.
bit. I actually think we get that, and I'll tell you how. We're right at the end of the issue. The TV is on the side, and it's the TV is on the side. It's the woman again, her blank face. She's saying, coming up, what happens when you want to break up with him, but he doesn't want to break up with you. It's a Fox 5 special report. Interesting because Fox 5 was the Fox affiliate where I grew up.
Me too.
Huh. How about that? Huh. Maybe they tried to get Fox 5 like in a lot of places.
I mean, that's the New York Fox affiliate is Fox 5. So
still in Atlanta too, Fox 5. Cool. Anyway, yes, this great splash page of Spawn, and he is perching on a gargoyle. It is the Ashley Williams version of Spawn on a gargoyle, and it looks fucking awesome. I love the hook chains, but there's just someone from off panel clapping.
Yeah. So we get the clap, 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 and we get a final splash page that I love. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's three angels. I don't love the language she's necessarily using here. It comes off as kind of a racist angel.
Yeah, but she is also in black, so
they're kind of racially ambiguous themselves, I guess. But she says she uses kind of a racial epithet for Spawn.
Oh, I mean mostly that like she's wearing black, so it is unclear to us. We get this kind of scrawl above the dialogue that says "Mission from God."
And they have crosses on them and stuff.
Right, but it's still unclear. We've never seen angels that look like this, especially ones wielding like
right.
AK-47s.
That's fair.
So
it's not the traditional version of a Spawn angel. These look more like almost like John Wick assassins or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very Matrixy feel to this. They're like sleek in like white dresses with crosses, and then the head angels in like
she's
dressed like Trinity basically.
Yeah, and she's got like the Elizabeth Hurley from Austin Powers.
She looks very
hair.
Elizabeth Hurley. That's exactly who I was trying to place.
Isn't that weird? But I guess that also makes sense considering that Austin Powers would be popular at this time.
Yeah.
And what Todd was making those toys. So,
and Elizabeth Hurley, a very photogenic person.
Absolutely.
So before we get into what's next, Pierce, hit me with those credits for Hellspawn number 6.
Hellspawn number 6, thankfully, has the same credits. Story by it is called The Big Leagues. Story by Brian Michael Bendis, illustrated by Ashley Wood, lettering by Richard Starkings, and Comicraft's Oscar Gongora.
We open up back in the chat rooms.
Hold on, before we do that, can we talk about this cover?
Yes, this is a very Mike Mignola-esque cover of Spawn
so cool.
Standing there with skulls. He's holding guns. Again, very Mignola-esque.
So cool.
Like the way the shapes are used.
I thought it was Mignola when I first looked at it, and then I was like, oh, no, it's just Ashley Wood, but it looks great.
Doing a great riff on that kind of a composition.
Yeah.
Love it. Looks
So cool.
great. Spawn with the skeletons, like all catacomb style. So
Ugh.
yes, kicking off, we're back in the chat rooms, but Kolios is asking if the event's still on. And here's something that occurred to me through this is that Kolios, Redeemer, and Angel seem to all be like adults working different angles. Whereas Hellspawn, we now find out, is presumably a child, like a teenager,
Yeah.
because he says, Kolios says, is the event still on? Hellspawn says, no, it's not happening. Kolios says, why? Hellspawn says, I can't say. And then he finally admits, my parents are sending me to camp. Then he says, it's all bullshit anyway. All this X-Files, urban legend, Men in Black crap. It's all a lie. And you get the impression that his parents are sending him away for believing in all this junk. Maybe to a religious camp, maybe to like conversion camp
See,
kind
I
of
wasn't
thing.
necessarily reading it as they were sending him away for this. I think they were sending him away to get him off the computer. Like that's like
Or
because
maybe a
like that
combination.
that feels like a very I remember like getting the internet in the late 90s
Yeah.
and then like learning about emulators and like I was on my computer all the fucking time. Like I was on the computer all the time. And my parents would be like, go outside. Like
Yeah.
get out of here. Like you're just not allowed in the house. Like
Right.
it's crazy that we just have
Go
computers in our
bust
pockets.
open a fire hydrant, you little
Yeah,
nerd.
exactly. Go ride your bike. Go see the sun. Come back when the streetlights come on. You know that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of what this feels like. It's just like you need to not be on this computer anymore. So I think that you're sort of spot on in the sense that they're sending him away for a
Maybe it's a
reason.
combination of those things. Maybe
But I
it's
don't.
this kid telling himself, "Oh, fuck it. I don't want this shit anymore if they're going to take it away from me." You know?
I think that they're not aware of exactly what he's talking about on the internet, but he's clearly obsessed and he's there all the time. So
That's
they
fair.
want
I mean,
to.
it could be interpreted either way. I took it because he was kind of disavowing it, that maybe they were like, it's time for you to like go to religious camp. Also, again, though, that's something that happens to people in the South. Like that happened to people I knew where like they'd go away to fucking religious camp for the summer and come back and be like, yeah, I can't talk about this shit anymore. I can't read comics anymore or whatever the fuck. Like
Happened to me with Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a southern delicacy. Either way, you know, he's basically saying Spawn's fake. Even Spawn is fake. Of course he's fake. He says UFOs lies, Bigfoot hoax, Kurt Cobain murder, more lies. Spawn, Kennedy, Yeti, all lies to keep us from seeing the real conspiracy, which is the government. They're the ones we've got to watch. And then Colio says, all that government covert stuff, that's bullshit. Now, we've talked about, I think we went in pretty in depth about the loop of conspiracy theory, which is like a smokescreen of like, get people talking about alien DNA and shit, and they won't look at the like financial conspiracy that's actually happening, where it's just Congress people colluding to vote across the aisle to raise their own pay and pork barrel shit. And like, that is actually the real conspiracy. It's just not a secret, you know, dark web thing. It's just happening.
This is where your observation that it is a few adults interacting with a child really does come to fruition, I think, because when the kid is kind of like, the government, and then Kolios is like, that government covers stuff, that's bullshit. Like, it does feel like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Like,
don't look here.
exactly, like the smoke screen, which is actually a real thing that happens. The CIA does seed conspiracy shit. That's not a conspiracy. That's the ironic
That's just
thing.
fact. Yeah,
that's just fact. The facts are the anyway.
But
I
I
don't want to
also
sound like I'm
like
ranting.
though that I think it's funny to think of like a couple of agents where like there's this guy who's like seen the Spawn. Like,
He's gonna try and summon him.
We're gonna follow this lead or whatever, and then it's just like some fucking kid who's
because this is happening every day at NSA headquarters. This is happening every day at like Dogecore or whatever the fuck. So as he's saying, all that Black Ops stuff is bullshit, which we know it's not in this universe because Spawn himself, Al Simmons, was a world famous Black Ops assassin. We cut to Norilsk, Siberia, where several soldiers are trudging through the snow with helicopters above them, and one of them said, just as the guy said, all that stuff is bullshit, this guy says, this is bullshit. They're hunting through the snow for something. And just as they're complaining for it, they're complaining about it. One of them says, here's the thing I don't get, Sarge. Why would an animal that lives in a warm climate, jungles and all that, come all the way out here? The other guy says, for starters, he ain't just an animal. And for another thing, you said he got here by himself. And as they're arguing, their like commander cuts in and says, he's picking up brain patterns in their area. And suddenly we see on the view screen the face of a cyborg gorilla.
Hell yeah, Cygor's back, baby.
Cygor's back. Back again. And so they're like, oh great, now he knows where we are. We get these like really interesting looking, like, this whole sequence to me, what this really visually reminded me of very presciently, because this comes years before, is the opening scene, or one of the opening scenes of Dune 2, where they are all in the like sand and like the sandstorm fight. These guys look very much like the Harkonnen soldiers in that, like all black, and they're like wearing helmets and gas masks and stuff. Really cool, interesting rendering here as they're all kind of walking through the snow in a line, and one by one, coming up behind them, something keeps dragging them under the snow until only one's left. And he's saying, Kaufman, Turner, anyone there? Fuck. And that whole sequence, just great. Now, really this is the comic that I was saying, this issue is the one that really feels a lot more like a classic core Spawn comic. This is also going to connect us in some ways in time to Spawn 100. So it will show us exactly where we are in the timeline next to the core Spawn title. So just a few issues really behind where we're at now. And this little sequence is just a classic, like, suddenly the guy's alone in the snow. And then we get this like crazy splash panel of Cygor bursting out of the snow. The snow, I guess, is like ice. It's like shattering like glass.
Yeah. This also is where I was like, oh, Ashley Wood really figured it out. There is such nuance in the acting of these characters, of mostly of the main like sort of soldier who's in the front, but like this is really funny. Like, this whole sequence is really, really funny and easy to understand. You know exactly what's happening. There's a lot of like nuanced, smaller kind of motions, like where the guy's poking his helmet, and we get the little like poke. We get those sort of like onomatopoeia type saying the action as the sound effect,
right?
Things in comics feels like a more modern thing, but it's something that's been around for a really long time. But it's really fun, and it injects a bit of humor here that I think you're not totally expecting from this comic, because it is usually pretty dark.
And also it's a little less straightforward, cartoonish, like cartooning than that. Like Ashley Wood's showing he's got the chops to do like a kind of a as straightforward a storytelling as we've seen in these issues. And I'm kind of loving it, especially going back through it. I love his Cygor just like I love his Violator. It's very simplified. I mean, it's very, kind of rendered in his sort of impressionist, almost like surrealist style. Yeah. I love that whole page though.
This panel where he where they like, have you made visual contact with the target? And Cygor is just kind of
sitting there, the steam coming out of his nose.
Yeah. And he's yeah.
And he says, gentlemen, please confirm visual contact. The guy's like, confirmed. And he says, can you subdue the target? The choppers are on the way. I repeat, can you subdue the target? And he says, I don't think so. Also, honestly, really tight scripting from Bendis through this whole thing. Like, he's still in his early seasoning here as a writer. Like, this is early in his career relative to where we are now. You know what I mean?
This is very efficient compared to what we're used to him from him now, and what we've gotten to this point.
Well, there was a point where he was really hitting it, like during kind of the golden years, let's say, of Ultimate Spider-Man,
True.
and the like early to like maybe that early first chunk of like New Avengers. He really
I
had a
think
voice, and he was really like finding it.
I think that when he is working with when he's finally like clicking with an artist in a really uh, effective way, that he tends to write for the he tends to be able to write the visual joke a little bit better because he can rely on them to execute it.
Yes.
And this scene feels like an Indiana Jones, like
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Nazis, like, while Indy like takes them out from behind and they don't realize, and
Right,
then it's
exactly.
like,
It's a very classic, like
yeah.
kind of a visual gag fight scene almost.
But I don't
And
think he's there with Ashley Wood on the first issue, for instance. So the first
right,
issue is
you can
Vibes.
tell
It is
he's filling
talky.
in less space. And again, the acting from Ashley Wood through this whole scene is really tight. And
Yeah,
so again, I think he's relying a lot more on those visuals to kind of sell some of that mood and some of that like conversational sort of like patter back and forth.
agreed.
That said, on this next page, what a fucking sick splash of just like a close up of Cygor's open jaws.
So cool.
So fucking awesome. Again, looks like a kick ass album cover.
Yeah, another cool cover,
That'd make a great poster for a show, honestly. You can
That's
put the
probably what'll
text
be
like
the
in his
art for the
mouth.
issue, honestly,
That's a great idea.
or for the episode. I'll probably just throw our logo in the middle there.
So we
But
cut back to New York. And I love this rendering of New York. This is almost like it's almost like a Far Side-esque like
I was thinking it was a little
rendering.
like Jim Mafood,
Yes, very much so.
right?
Yeah.
Kind of
It's
off
like,
kilter, sort of sketchy, but
yes,
very kind of like loudly illustrated, if that makes sense.
I love
I
it. And I love Spawn. You can just make out Spawn's cape there, the
I want to give a
silhouette.
shout out to, we're so used to Tom Warzakowski and we've given him so many shout outs, but Richard Starkings and Comic Craft,
Really
Comic
starting
Craft's
to click with
Oscar
these
Nagora.
issues as well.
Yeah, there's the team's like really figuring out what this book is,
Yeah.
and they're finding this middle ground between like pure superhero book and horror title. And I
Well,
think
even
that
just between vibes and narrative.
yeah, but I think also too part of it is that Spawn gets to be in this book a little bit more,
Yeah,
and it
true.
helps anchor it a little bit. As a reader, I was a lot more satisfied reading the second issue. It's so weird. I said before this, I was like, oh, I didn't really like these issues, and as we're going through them, I'm all like, oh, I guess they're pretty okay.
Well, we've talked about it so many times that
Yeah,
sometimes
every
when
time.
you really stop to smell the roses, sometimes they're pretty blushy.
Yeah, but yeah, so we get Spawn, and he's firing off his guns.
Yeah, this is again a very Jim Mahfood-esque, like we always compare pages to different artists, and I don't mean to deconstruct art that way necessarily, but I think the reason I do that a lot on this podcast in particular is this visual reference for people who are just listening to
Yeah,
maybe
if
like
you're not,
connect what we're talking about to something you might have in your head.
yeah, yeah, we're only doing it to. I mean, honestly, I'm sure that Jim Mafood would say that he likes Ashley Wood's art. Like I think that we're creating
Sometimes
connections. The point is to
sometimes
create
artists
connections.
bristle at comparison, especially if you walk up to an artist and you're like, this is great, this looks just like such and such a guy, because you never know if that person is sick of hearing that
Right.
or they want their own voice. And this is very much Ashley Wood's own art.
Totally.
When I felt the need to qualify that, because for Ashley Wood in particular, this art is so conceptual that when we're conveying what it looks like, trying to convey it through an audio medium, that's been a useful tool.
Yeah.
But here, this whole sequence rules. It is like Spawn just blasting these angels, and one of them saying, "Is he serious with this?" As like the bullets are just like it's like a hail of bullets around them. The other one says, "All he knows is violence," and they're just kind of mocking him till he says, "I think he's done." And we get this new splash page of them where they're saying it's time we get down to business, and they're not firing back; they're just holding their guns, posing kind of Charlie's Angels ish,
Yeah.
ironically.
This also, again, to just do like a kind of reference to another artist, a little Phil Noto.
Yeah, a little bit of
You
Phil
know?
Noto. There's some Jay Lee-esque kind of blocking and the inking and stuff
Yep.
very much. It's cool. It's great. This is the thing is, I think a lot of the artists we're naming are kind of recursively influential with Ashley Wood as well. I'm sure. Like I'm sure
Oh
he's a
yeah.
huge
Oh
influence
yeah.
on some of those people. Phil Noto probably in particular. Um, anyway, they're saying, let's get down to business. And Spawn says, I have no business with your kind. I rejected your redemption. I said no to your forgiveness. And they say, you're mistaken. We didn't travel here to forgive. And basically, they explain they're there to find out what actually happened to Angela.
Right.
She
Because
died, as
Spawn,
we know, in Spawn 100.
right. And Spawn delivered her to heaven. But as we've come to learn about the angels, there's kind of factions within them that,
Right.
like, some of them believe certain things or want to do certain things or follow certain leaders within their ranks. And we're getting kind of the idea of another faction here that just does
It's
not believe that Spawn is not to blame for her death.
it is a it is a perfect example of a strict hierarchical organization and organizational structure, and how when something like that exists on such a massive scale, it's inevitable for factions and loyalties to kind of spring up. And it's not that different from Hell. Once again, it's just that kind of, would you rather be chained to a pole or trapped in a box? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you can be a rabid dog or you can be a caged animal, but either way, you're not in charge.
Right. And like I mean, the illustration here is just so great. Spawn is so fucking cool. I like that his skulls are kind of hanging like chains now
Yeah.
off his cape. They're not like holding his cape on almost. They're like almost like around his neck. His cape has this huge collar now, like uh like Doctor Strange, and then he's just still got giant ass guns.
Yeah.
You know, it
I love it.
rules.
I love it. They're like, we've come for an explanation, and if we're satisfied with your answers, we may or may not obliterate you from existence. And he's just like, chick, reloads his guns, and he's like, start asking. I love that. And she
Super
says, we want to
fun.
know what really happened. And he says to Angela, what did you do to her? He says, I tried to save her. Malbolgia struck too fast. We get this, like, kind of a look at Spawn holding up Malbolgia's head. So we get the, like, Ashley Wood version of
Yeah.
Malbolgia. Also looks fucking awesome. One thing that I'm loving about Ashley Wood doing, like, Violator, Cygor, Malbolgia, but in particular Violator and Malbolgia, is just seeing an artist take that text description,
Hmm.
like, this is how you describe this character in text, and translating it into his own vision, like the gaping jaw, the way it hangs, the huge head of, like, mane of hair. It's so cool and so interesting, and he has such a great take on it.
Yeah. You instantly know what it is you're looking at, even though it doesn't look the way that you've ever seen it look before.
Case in
And
point,
that's
the Angela at the bottom of the page.
took the
Love
words
it.
right out of my mouth.
So
Really
good.
cool. It is an interesting rendering on one hand, in the sense that um, her expression is that it's like weirdly
Yeah,
horny. It's
yeah,
like
there
weirdly a
is,
little horny. There's a little bit of
you
a
know,
horny.
where her hand is placed,
That's
it
what I'm
is a little
saying.
bit like Le Petit Mort,
Yeah.
like the little death. There is an ecstatic kind of quality to it.
Yeah.
I think that is not it doesn't look sexualized necessarily, but you
No.
know what it is? I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's a very Renaissance-esque posing of,
Mm,
like, a sort of flowing, a little bit, like you said, kind of horny, a little bit of an ecstatic, almost amorous human form,
yeah.
showing this, like, transcendence of an angel into death. I love it. It is effective with that in a way that sometimes things come off as just prurient.
Mm,
Here it comes off as more of a, like, you could see this in a gallery in a way.
I hear that. I hear that. I also think that weirdly, and this obviously was not possible, but it does look like Chapel Roan.
That is also kind of true. It does kind of look
It's
like
very
Chapel
weird,
Roan.
but
It
like
weirdly does
literally
kind of
her
look like Chapel
facial
Roan.
features, she looks like Chapel Roan.
That's true.
That's just weird.
Weird.
and impossible because Chapel Roan did not exist when this came out. I don't think.
Trust Chapel Roan.
No?
No more reason why.
You're not going to the Pink Pony Club?
Great music. Great music. Don't trust me.
Leaving it there. Okay. We get another incredible next page. We're
gonna get an email on that, but that's fine.
We probably won't. I don't know what the crossover of Spawn fans and Chapel Roan fans are, and it might just be here.
Castle Rat is Chapel Roan for Spawn fans.
That's a great point. They announced their new record. Did you see that?
I did.
I'm gonna go see them in October.
Oh, that's awesome. So this splash of Spawn here looks maybe the most like a traditional Spawn that we've seen Ashley Wood do on some level, because he's got the we see the Malbolgia M kind of like the white lines. We see the one, his gloves look a little more traditional. He's got the skull like a belt.
I love the hooks.
Chains.
I love that Ashley Wood's the chains are not
very
enough.
Hellraiser. Clive Barker
hooks. Yeah,
that's awesome.
He does somehow manage to draw this angel in a classic tits and ass pose.
I will defend this for one reason, and here is why. Okay. First off, I think there's an overall vision here of you having the angels use their sexuality in a strange kind of off-kilter way, because angels are sexless. We know that Angela isn't, because she and Spawn swapped plasms. Yeah. But this is meant to be a shocking moment where she goes from looking very traditionally sexy. Spawn saying, I fought hard for what I've become. I am Spawn. You serve the light, yet your hands are drenched in blood as mine. Don't judge me or threaten me. You have no idea what you're dealing with. She says, we've heard these words from you before, Hellspawn, but you forget. And she's in that classic, like you said, tits and ass pose. And then the next page, it is the other side of the coin, where she is now almost scantily clad, but her clothes look like a carapace. And she has a almost like horse's skull kind of face. And she says, the same could be said for us. Light can blind, light can burn, but we're satisfied. It's clear you did not take our beautiful huntress, our perfect Angela. And then the other two angels are we miss her touch, and they're making out. So there is a very intentional creepy sexualization of these angels that I think transcends just a tits and ass kind of thing. That's I actually think it's kind of a literary inversion of that. Okay, the angels are all tits and ass in the regular Spawn comic. Here we're going to make that really fucking weird.
I love Spawn's reaction too. We get a silent panel, but with the surprise marks kind of above his head, what the fuck?
Exactly.
And then we get another great, just incredible illustration.
It is the Spawn equivalent of that Cygor page, where it's just close up, his cool, almost robotic looking hand with the way his fingers are segmented, almost insectoid. He says, don't ever come back. Tell them all of your kind. I don't want help, redemption, forgiveness, or guidance. I'm sick of talking. This is the last time. Is that clear? Stay out of my alley, stay away from my city, and get the hell off my world. And he snaps his fingers and turns into a fucking skeletal bone dragon bat creature, and just flies away. And the lead angel goes, wow, I almost feel sorry for him. They're going to come after him. They're going to come after him for all they're worth, which is basically
what Cog said to Spawn as well when he decided to reject the throne, is that listen, the demons are going to want something from you. I also think, so my read on these angels is that they are maybe not angels.
It's also possible that they're not angels. They could be demons. That's also possible.
Because I was thinking that maybe with now the throne being, I have to imagine that there are some demons in hell that then looked up to Angela in some way. Maybe, I was thinking that might be something cool, is oh, what if there are demons with a dream that
it's not impossible.
We want to be the angels. We want to be angels. So we aspire to that. And so they model themselves after.
Yeah, it's possible.
after angels in some
There's
way.
like just a weird I in that instance, in that sequence, I really appreciate the balance of chastity and carnality
Mm,
to create a very kind of like unsettling picture of these angels.
yeah.
Like just a weird otherworldliness. You know what it really reminds me of in some ways is not a movie I love, but Constantine, or Constantine as they say it in the movie, with Keanu Reeves, is like Tilda Swinton
Mm-hmm.
as Gabriel, right? Gabriel in that.
Yeah. Pretty
Uh
sure.
she has this like sort of weird asexual sexiness
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is kind of just a similar, like, that is a vibe of like weird Hellblazer angel kind of thing.
Agreed. It's weird that they're making a sequel to that movie.
I mean, I hope it's good, I guess. Good for
I don't really like
Keanu.
the first one because to me, John Constantine has to be British.
Yeah,
He kind of like doesn't work in my brain if he's not British.
yeah.
So
Mm.
whatever. But
Yeah, he's a very British character.
yeah.
We're not done with the issue yet because we go back to this cool splash page of
So
like a
weird.
weird alien creature, a pork bomb is what it is. They're explaining, okay, Colio says, I told you it's all bullshit. That conspiracy government crap, bullshit. We're back in the chat room, of course.
Yeah.
Hellspawn says it's more plausible than Spawn. Colio says, I heard about one case where they said they took the genes of a captured Hellspawn and spliced it with a pig. And now they got these things they throw out of bomber planes called pork bombs. They throw them out of planes and they go crazy because they're half potbelly, half Hellspawn, and they eat the enemy. And Hellspawn says, LOL, that's hilarious. And Colio says, of course you don't believe any of it. And Hellspawn says, not anymore. Colio says, love of Pete, can't believe you lost the faith. And they're all just confirming again, it's all lies, whatever.
It's very funny that Ashley Wood had to just draw a mouse.
Yeah, like a computer mouse. That's, yeah. So Colios is saying, what about vampires? What about the urban legend about the young couple who's haunted by the killer with the hook hand? And we see little renderings of all those things. But then Hellspawn's like, more lies. And then Colio says, okay, how about this? What about chat room stalkers? And Hellspawn says, what? Are you there? Hello? And that's the end of that. There's one more page, and this is a very interesting page, and this is going to carry us through our last little bit of this episode. This guy is giving sort of writing a letter. He's writing a letter to the editor, basically saying, New York, an open letter to Mayor Sally Thornton Myers. For years, the citizens of New York have enjoyed an alleged drop in violent crime. Central Park has become a tourist wonderland during the day. Times Square has turned from one of the most dangerous areas of the Big Apple to one of the most lucrative and safest if you're a tourist. Then he says, but what about the people who live here, Mrs. Mayor? Don't we have the same rights as the wallet-stuffed visitors to our great city? Take, for example, the area of town nicknamed Rat City. And he goes on to basically explain what Rat City is to the average person, not to Spawn, where it's his like haunted alley. It is the place where people go to buy and sell drugs, to commit violent crimes, to do things that are harmful to themselves and their surroundings without any kind of policing or any kind of what's the word I'm looking
Just
for?
oversight in general.
Regulation. Yeah,
Nobody's
oversight.
nobody's looking there.
If you've seen
we
The Wire, it's like when they do Hamsterdam, which is like the cops are like, well, they can do all that shit. They can shoot up and buy heroin all in there.
But we've actually heard from other characters in the main Spawn title that is where like Jason Wynn gets shit done.
Yes.
Like that is where politicians get shit done. That is where you go to like make somebody disappear, is Rat City, and everybody allows it to happen because they need that place to exist so that they can do those things. They need that evil place to exist. And again, I said it before, but I do really like this as another instance where instead of just the talking heads, we get like another angle to what the world of Spawn looks like to a normal person within that world. We've gotten like morality tales and stuff before. We've met Fred, who commits suicide because Spawn will help him. We've met kind of like side characters and things, but we've never really gotten perspective from
So,
folks that are not interacting with Spawn directly. And so,
right.
This is interesting.
We're getting more perspective on Rat City here as well, like you said. And this guy who's writing, he's writing this long thing. It's almost like the Seven, kind of like ranting about the people in the city. It's a little more compassionate, though. He says, rumors too strange to mention, home to hundreds of homeless men and women who gravitate there because there are not enough shelters to accommodate them after you force them off the streets. By all accounts, Rat City is, pardon my drama, hell on earth. And it just goes on. It actually trails off, like it doesn't continue the thought. But at the bottom, the letter is signed Mike Moran. Mike Moran. Now, Pierce, you know who Mike Moran is.
Mike Moran is very important in comics. That is the identity of Miracleman.
Miracleman, the classic British superhero written by the likes of Alan Moore and Neil fucking Gaiman, who is sort of a Shazam type character.
Yeah, created in the 50s.
But brought into the modern day in a very edgy, kind of dark way. One of the main villains of the story becomes Kid Miracleman, which is one of my favorite code names for any character ever. Kid Miracleman. Almost as good as Lady Stiltman.
Is it Kid Miracle? No, it's Young Miracle. Wait, is it Young?
It's Kid Miracleman.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It is Kid Miracleman. Sorry, there's also Young Miracleman. That's why I was getting confused.
But also originally known as Marvel Man. In the 50s, he was known as Marvel Man. They couldn't keep using the name Marvel Man, so when they revived it in the 80s, they used the name Miracleman to keep the logo, because by then Marvel Comics existed and they couldn't do that. So here's the thing. This is Mike Moran. This character, this is the first time we've seen Mike Moran in this comic.
Correct.
This is important because this was intended to be Miracleman. This was intended to be Miracleman, and Miracleman was intended to be a part of Spawn because Todd McFarlane had bought the rights to Eclipse Comics, which was, I believe, the final publisher of Miracleman.
That is correct.
And Todd McFarlane believed that buying those assets would get him the rights to Miracleman. However, that didn't happen.
Because Neil Gaiman already believes that he owns like a third of the character.
Right.
So, to do a little bit more history here. The character exists from like 1954 to 1963 as a Fawcett Comics character called Marvel Man. It goes into obscurity in the early 60s as Marvel actually becomes a thing. They lose the rights. It gets revived for an anthology in 1981. In 1982, Alan Moore takes over. He wants to do like a riff on the Übermensch, Friedrich Nietzsche concept.
Just a quick note: there was not a Fawcett comic. Captain Marvel was a Fawcett comic.
Sorry. That's what it was.
But it was to replace the Captain Marvel that was published by Fawcett in the UK. Correct. It's complicated.
Yeah.
You can see why there's strange stuff with the rights.
Right. And so Moore ends up working with Gary Leach to draw the script, the strip. Alan Davis eventually takes over. Their creative differences between Moore and Davis. Graham Morrison's ready to take it over. It doesn't really happen. It kind of like falls into obscurity.
He was originally created, by the way, by Mick Anglo.
Right. Correct.
Back in the 50s.
And then, 85, they rename him Miracleman. John Toddleben, Rick Veitch, and John. I mean, there's like, if you look through the history of this character, it's just like all-star artist and writer after all-star artist and writer that work on this. Gaiman does work on it with Mark Buckingham, but we get like Alex Ross, Kurt Busiek, Matt Wagner, James Robinson, Derek Robertson, like insane like lineup of talent.
It's an amazing, and they're amazing comics. So long story short, Neil fucking Gaiman sues Todd again.
Yeah.
All of that to say, finally in 2009, who was one Joe Quesada discovered that the Marvel Man rights were actually belonged to Mick Anglo, were never actually purchased by anybody else. And Marvel licensed the characters directly from Mick Anglo in 2010. They've been doing reprints since. And then in 2021 and 2022, Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham, yay, continued the story that they had left off like 35 years earlier, after 30 years or whatever. So,
despite that, nobody fucking cares. I'll be
nobody fucking
honest.
cares. It's interesting.
Literally nobody cares. It's interesting. It's a weird little artifact, and it's interesting that it got continued. But I remember when Marvel got the rights in 2009, and they were like, "Oh my god, we're gonna do this thing."
He was
And
in the Timeless one shot. They had just like a little thing that was actually very similar to this, in fact, where he was like writing something. So Mike Moran here was intended to be Miracleman. Now, he was changed due to the dispute into the quote unquote Man of Miracles. The Man of Miracles, who we will learn later is actually affiliated with the Green World and plays a lot of other roles in this comic.
Technically, we've already met Mike Moran. We just don't know that we've met Mike Moran because through a series of retcons, the Keeper of the Green World is
Mike Moran, the Man of Miracles,
aka the Mother, aka now in continuity Gaia, which is just sort of like we talked about it with the introduction of the Keeper, back 30 some odd issues ago,
and all that shit. Mother Gazer, was part of this.
That we were feeling like, oh, there's a third force that is sort of in between heaven and hell. What we will find out eventually, because everything in Spawn takes a long time, is that Man of Miracles is also known as the Mother, and the Mother created God and the devil and gave them Earth. And so, really, and we've weirdly brought this up before, but we talked about in Marvel, like the one above all, the Mother, Man of Miracles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mike genderless Moran, character who has appeared in different genders. Very interesting.
Is sort of that kind of concept for the Spawn universe.
Now, who was it that we were talking about with Gozer way back when? Like that character turns into Mother Gozer, or Gazer, rather, not Gozer, Gazer. Oh, God, it was way back in the early issues. Anyway, it's coming up later, but this guy's connected to that too. Oh, it's Chapel becomes Gazer.
Wait, what? Yeah. Is that right?
Yes. Chapel dies and becomes Gazer, and he returns as a woman, and he's so much happier. That's what it is. And we were asking, is Chapel trans? Yep.
Right, that's what it was.
So this guy's connected to that. I'm sure Pierce edited that in down to a kind of thing that makes some level of sense.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's that. You know what? It's a weird comic book, and that's why we read it. But anyway, Miracleman,
aka Marvel I love Man, comics.
Aka Mike Moran,
never appears in Spawn. He has to be rewritten as the Mother of Miracles, Mother of Existence, Mom, will sort whatever.
Of show up again because the lawsuit doesn't happen for like another year. So
no, but he won't show up as like Miracleman.
No, not at all. But we will get more teases of this character as Miracleman.
Right.
Sort of. Right. But Ashley Wood leaves the book at issue 11 and the plot gets dropped because of the lawsuit. So there it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. There you have it.
Great. We do have a little bit of back matter.
Final issue of Brian Bendis's Hellspawn. We'll catch up with that in a minute.
Yeah. We have got postmortem in issue number 5.
All right.
It says, hello. I was out collecting my favorite comic book, Spawn, and saw an incredible spinoff, Hellspawn. I'd never seen such incredible artwork. I graduated from San Diego State in graphic arts and have been following the artwork in the new generation of comic books. Well, I got home and began to read the story behind the artwork. I hope and pray the children's section of our local comic book store does not carry this book or sell it to my friends and family's children. I was sick. I'm very liberal when it comes to artwork and stories, but come on. Gang rape, child molestation, suicide. I am sad and have seen one of my favorite comic book heroes crash and burn in the sickest side of life. And to distribute that to children, does Todd have any sense? I have followed the history of censorship. I'm not asking for that. I would not care if it was for adults, but it is a comic book. Think back when you were a child. Picking up a comic book was one of the best things you could do on a Sunday morning with my friends. I cannot see the faces of those kids that pick up this mag, but it
I don't
can't
think
be
kids
that
are
feeling
buying
of
this.
joy. A sickening feeling, maybe. Please have some sense of something, like I said. I'm sad for the fate of our world and the future of our children. Thanks for listening. Concerned Artist via Spawn message board.
Okay, nerd. Well, look. The problem is this is the mature comic. It's labeled as a mature comic, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I guess maybe they didn't have that yet. It was a little before that. But
there's nothing on it to indicate that it is a mature reader's book.
That said, you'd think theoretically that if some kid was like, I want to buy Hellspawn, most responsible store owners would know what the comic is. Also, though, the art style here is not really appealing to quote unquote kids. It doesn't look like a superhero comic. If I had the choice between this and regular Spawn when I was like 11, I'd have gone with regular Spawn because I would have understood it. This would have looked like an adult thing to me.
Yeah, agreed.
I think also, though, I mean, it's a comic book. Kids are resilient. I'm not saying you should hand that comic to a kid. I agree that it's certainly written to a mature level and for what passes as maturity in comics to appeal to adults or a certain type of adult. I wouldn't give it to a kid, but it's a comic book.
Well, to your point, and I'm pretty sure this is Todd. It doesn't say, but the P.O. box for the postmortem is Arizona, and that's where Todd lives. So I assume it is Todd responding to this. Before we get to the heart of your letter, let me say I'm glad you're smitten by the Hellspawn artwork. As I said many times in the past, we are going for a more sophisticated and intelligent look with this book. We're trying to separate it from the core Spawn title. It's a book that hopefully will appeal to those who have become weary of the traditional superhero comic books. With that said, I must disagree on your overall view of the effect and content of this book. I'm troubled by the scenes you say were depicted in the first few issues and don't know where you came up with the graphic situations.
They're not depicted.
They're not. Things are referenced, and there are things that are sort of like obfuscated. There's like the porn theater scene, but there's not the things that are said in this letter. Anyway.
I mean, he mentions those things. All those things are mentioned.
But they're not depicted.
Yeah.
I think you give far too much credit that this book has a magic spell it casts over the weak minds of the youth of America. I find it to be rather insulting at the lack of intelligence most adults give our youth. I don't believe children between the ages of 5 and 13 are buying this book. The artwork and style are not things a young person will gravitate towards. I believe if you stop and reflect upon your own life, you will see, much like I did, I was able to discern between right and wrong, irrespective of what was in front of me. For instance, when I was quite young, I saw a movie where someone was shot. My first instinct was not to go out and shoot somebody. When I heard someone cursing, although I heard the word and knew what it meant, it did not mean I repeated those words. If I saw someone slapping their wife in public or being obnoxious in any way, I did not repeat those acts. I think we lose focus on the fact if you see things you know to be wrong, it's good medicine to remind you you'll never do those things. The book is meant to entertain first and foremost, and doesn't give the rules on social commentary or how people should act. Although the word censorship is bantered about a lot, the truest sense of censorship is to not buy a product you don't like. But just because you don't like it doesn't mean that no other person should be allowed to consume it. All I can do is put out products that I think will entertain and leave it up to the consumer to vote with his dollars. At this point, we've gotten a terrific response on the book, and most people are enjoying the direction we're heading. I will take note of your comments, but to try and protect the world from potential uptight conservative upbringings of a great many people in this country is detrimental to artistic expression. We must all make our own personal judgments. I respect your decision and hope you will give me the same in return. Thank you.
I mean, pretty good Todd response. Sounds like Todd for sure.
Oh yeah, totally. Very anti, like, I'm going to show whatever I want in my book.
Yeah.
You know, very
Stop.
anti-censorship. I'm just going to do what
Yeah.
I want in my book. You don't have to fucking like it. And if you don't like it, don't buy it. And then I won't
And if
make
you
it.
don't want
Not
it to be in the hands of a kid, don't give it to a fucking kid.
Yeah. So, and also I like that he's just like, we need to give people more credit. Like, let's let things exist and let people just make decisions for themselves. So,
Yeah.
but you know, um, these we found more to talk about than I thought we would, which we
We
always
always
do.
do. Yep.
But
Yeah. Final thoughts, Pierce. What do you think?
final thoughts. I do think that Bendis kind of feels like he's just about to get going.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be gone. And I'm happy that like Steve Niles will be able to pick up these threads and kind of get to do whatever he wants with them. I'm happy Ashley Wood's sticking around to give us some
Very
sense of
happy
like
Ashley Wood sticking around
visual
at least for a
continuity.
while.
I've said it before. I totally understand why so many Spawn fans are like, Ashley Wood is my favorite. Like, I love this.
Yeah,
And
I
it
get it.
is really cool. And especially right now, he's like really cooking. And it's crazy too, because he's still fairly young at this point, you know? So these two issues, while they're not my favorite, I think that we've covered so far, they're not my favorite, the Summer of Hellspawn. They are pretty solid. They do some cool stuff. I think I am consistently impressed with Ashley Wood, and it's really fun seeing Bendis round into. I didn't really start reading Bendis comics till a little bit after this era, right? So it's
Right.
fun to see his voice really rounding into shape. I think he's also really getting a sense of Spawn, also, as he's had him appear more in the book. So again, it's kind of frustrating that he'll be gone immediately. But
Yeah. Well, and I'll just echo what you said overall, which is would have enjoyed maybe seeing more Bendis, getting to see maybe like an actual denouement to his run.
mm-hmm.
I like you said, that he's leaving some threads here that can be picked up. He's not closing things off, and it doesn't feel like a stupid place to like have a transition of writer or whatever. Really enjoyed the art on these two issues. I really dug, especially the second issue. Ashley Wood is really starting to cook with this, really finding his voice for Spawn. And yeah, like you said, I really see why this art in particular looms large in the canon of Spawn.
Absolutely. I'm really happy that we're digging into this. Summer of Hellspawn
Summer
continues.
of Hellspawn.
And yeah, it's been an interesting little break from the main narrative. I think it's also going to sort of renew our fervor about the main book. But before we go, do you have any recommendations for our listeners this week?
I do. I go through cycles with social media where I have permanently deleted or gotten rid of a lot of apps. But this week, I've been on Reddit a lot, and I'm always on Reddit looking at toys and stuff. But I got off Reddit. I deleted the app from my phone. I didn't delete my account because I still need to like keep track of certain like things on there, like toys and stuff, like release dates, etc. Pathetic. But but yeah, it was not doing me any favors this week. And I feel like the message there is find whatever it is in your life that is taking you further away from how you want to feel and who you want to be. Find something that's doing that in your life and get rid of it. If it's like looking at scrolling through much on TikTok, get rid of it. If you got a bunch of junk in your house that's been holding up your space or whatever, find something in your life that is holding you back and trim it out.
I like that. I have a less existential recommendation. I'm going to recommend. There's somebody I bought a couple T-shirts from this guy. He's a really great screen printer. His name's Zach Merrill.
Cool.
He does action tees. I have that Doctor Doom, I Defy You Death
Oh, that's a
T-shirt,
cool one. I've
and
seen
then I
that.
just got a really sick Jay Lee Cyclops. So he takes panels of older comics and kind of remixes them,
That's
and
cool.
he every couple months puts out a really sick drop. I mean, I think the next one he's doing is Magneto and Polaris, which
Nice.
is,
That's awesome.
it's looking incredible already. Uh, Definitely follow him. It's it's expensive for a t-shirt, but it is high quality work.
I mean, when you're paying handmade for something, yep, handmade is great. I'll go ahead and plug the guy who makes all my t-shirts, including the one I'm wearing right now, which says, it's like the Dare logo, but it says RHCP fucking sucks. Is Meth Syndicate, METH Syndicate, Meth Syndicate. Just not as artistically inclined, more like I have another one, for example, that is a picture of Dolly Parton with the Joanne logo. So just weird, kooky shit, like for garbage people.
Cool.
Like me.
Great. Well, on that note, George, I have only one last thing to say. For Todd so loved the world,
he gave his only begotten spawn.
See you later, Hellspawn. Spawnography is recorded in Athens, Georgia, and Queens, New York. It's produced by me, Pierce Lyden. Our theme music and logo were composed by George Marston. Episodes come out every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe. You can find us on social media at Spawnography or at SpawnographyPod. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, you can do so at spawnographypod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, see you later, Hellspawn.